This is the Be More podcast. I am your host, Jack Williams, and this is a show all about health, nutrition, mindset, and performing at our very best. And this is going to be your catalyst to being more. Welcome to episode 49 of the Be More podcast. We are approaching the half century of the podcast, and what a revelation and unbelievable experience it's been to run this Be More podcast. We've got some really exciting guests lined up as well for the podcast, so I'm super excited to have them on. And today I'm on live on Facebook, and I'm going to do a little story about how about 2 years ago now I was recommended a book to read. I started getting into hello boys, more intimately. I started getting into personal development, and I got advised to read a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to do it. I've tried to always be coachable. So when someone says to do something, if they've previously had success or whatever, I'll be like, do you know what? I'm going to read it. So I listened to it whilst I was like driving or commuting, etc. And I never got it. I just didn't get it. I thought this book it's like a best-selling book of all time, one of the best-selling books of all time in personal development field. And I thought this is going to be awesome. I just didn't get it. It was a really old book, and I thought it's before my time. I don't really understand it, and I got about halfway through, and I gave up with it. And I actually posted on Instagram story the other day. It's in the other room, so I can't even show you the book. But I posted it on my Instagram story the other day, and I was like, going to try reading this book again. And a few people have messaged me saying, "Oh, I've read that recently. Haven't had good feedback as well from lots of people, and I didn't really get it." And I was thinking, am I going to get the same kind of response? Am I going to not really get it again? So the book's The Richest Man in Babylon, if you've just tuned in, guys. And so I'm about halfway through now, and I can't put it down. It's unbelievable. And there's a story within it that's made me want to jump on Facebook Live today and record an episode of the podcast and just talk about it, because I think it'll inspire a few people to be like, that's unbelievable. So there's this wealthy man. He's built up a lot of wealth. This is based in Babylon all these years ago, right? And they're talking in terms of gold as their currency. And he's got a massive estate, like lots of businesses, and he's basically getting to the point where he wants to retire and he wants to hand it down to his son. So he says to his son, look, I've got this, I'm one of the richest men in Babylon, but in order for me to pass you down my estate, I need to know that you're going to be capable to look after it. So obviously this guy's not just going to give his fortune to his son, when it's like having David Beckham, right, hand over all of his money to Romeo, even though he's not ready for that, you know. So he says to him, right, I'm going to give you a load of gold. He gives him like a lot of gold, by the way, and he gives him a little stone. And on this stone, I was reading this before and I was like, I don't get it. But on this stone, it's got the 5 laws of basically being successful, the 5 laws of gold, and the 5 laws of just basically personal development. And within 6 months, he spent all the gold just on stupid endeavors, right? Like anything, day-to-day stuff, trying to launch different businesses or whatever he might have spent the money on. But the gold went. And it's like when people almost win the lottery. If they're not like ready to win the lottery in their head, their wealth doesn't last very long. They spend all the money, it doesn't last, right? And so within 6 months, he's sent away for 10 years, right, to go and learn how to be ready to handle his dad's estate. Within 6 months, all the gold's gone. He's like, shit. And all he's got left is this little stone with the 5 laws of gold, the 5 laws of like success, the 5 ethics almost of how to be successful, or how to just basically be able to manage a business, be able to manage money, etc., etc. And he starts reading the stone, this stone with all the 5 laws on, because he hadn't looked at it before. Because to him, the gold was what everyone wanted, right? Everyone wants the gold, and it wasn't until he realised that it was what was on the stone that would have been how he would have managed the gold to become, like, use it to become more successful and to become richer almost. Because if you notice, the rich normally just get richer, guys, and it's because they know how to manage it. And this is where I realised in this book, I was like, how fascinating that I didn't really understand this before. Because success, guys, isn't like a bank balance. Success is a reflection on the person that you become. And that's something that I've learned just from more personal development in the last 2 years. It's made me realise that just from different mentors, different authors, different books that I've read, different endeavours that I've dived into, my own experience, different relationships, it's made me realise like it isn't about like anything that's monetary, or it isn't about anything that's the car you drive. It's about the person that you become. It's the person that you are. Like what you do is a reflection on what you have. And it's just, the world is the truest place there can possibly be. This is sounding really, really deep, right? But if you haven't got what you want, it's because you're not being what you need to be to have that. And that's why this year I gave my car back. Like I tried to become more minimalist, because I built up like a massive, like I was running quite a successful business, but I built up so many expenses, and I was just living month to month. Even though I was bringing in a good income from being a really busy personal trainer, charging a good hourly rate, everyone was like on the outside thinking, oh, he must be doing really well. But I just drew up so many expenses, guys, that I was just month to month. And at the end of the month, there was more month at the end of the money. And I've realised that so many people live their lives this way. And it's not because they're not doing well, or it's not because they're not earning good money. It's because they don't know how to manage it. And it's because they're not developing themselves as a person. And this is where personal development is so key. And when I first listened to people speak about personal development, I used to think, nah, that's not for me. Like I used to listen to like American guys on YouTube and be like, that's too American, that's not for me. And it's not until you realise like the people who are the people that are achieving things that are like any kind of level of greatness or any kind of level of success, these are people that are constantly working on themselves. They're going to the gym, they're doing exercise, they're feeding their bodies with healthy nutrition. They're constantly like, they might be meditating, whatever it might be, they're constantly working on themselves because they know that they're the only person in control and of their destiny and of where they're going to go. And it sounds like, to some people this might sound a little bit like roo-rah and a little bit out there. But honestly, guys, like if there's something that you want to achieve, like just take ownership and realize that the only person that's going to do that for you is you. And it doesn't matter if you run your own business. It doesn't matter if you work for a corporate company and you've got a boss. It doesn't matter what position you are in. There's only one way you're going to move forward, and that's by just doing the do. Realizing what it's going to take to get you to your goal, and just putting the work ethic in and doing it day after day. Jim Rohn says that success is the compound effect of doing the small things day in, day out that will move you in the direction of where you want to go. So just know where you want to go. Have a vision, guys. Have a goal. Like people are going into their week with no goals. People are going into the year with no goals. They're like, oh, I'm not setting New Year's resolutions because everyone fails at them. That's true. And isn't that interesting? Isn't that fascinating? But the reality is, guys, like the people who do set goals and stick to them are the ones that are different every single year. They're getting better. They're becoming more. Which is why my whole brand is about being more, because I just want to try and inspire people to realise, like, if you had known me years ago, you'd be like, wow, like he's so different to how he used to be. Like I would not, if I told you 5 years ago, right, that I would have a podcast called the Be More Podcast, I'll be live on Facebook talking to an audience of my friends about how my podcast is called Be More and how I am trying to be more. You'd be like, nah, there's no way. There would be no way. And every single success story you'll ever see, and by the way, I don't even see myself to be successful, but every success story that you see, you'll see everyone starts from the bottom. Everyone starts from the bottom. And that's what's so inspirational to people who are open-minded enough to realise that they can do it too. And that's what every single person who's seen any kind of level of success or any kind of, someone might lose some weight and they're just going to shout about it. Someone might just start getting bigger arms in the gym. They're going to tell you what exercise they're doing just because people like to share it. People's favourite subtopic is normally themselves. And I just realised that a few years ago, like I wasn't really happy with what I was doing. I wasn't happy with where my life was going. So I was like, I'm just going to start studying. And I went to university, by the way. This is after I went to university. I paid 20 odd grand for a degree and I didn't read a single book. Didn't listen to a single podcast. Didn't listen to a single audio book. All I did was just show up. I showed up to my degree, showed up to my lectures, sometimes late, by the way, as well. I just showed up. And isn't that what most people do? They just show up. They have to be at work at 9, they finish at 5. In between that time, they do what they have to do. They tick the boxes. Life isn't about showing up, guys. Life isn't about ticking boxes. And this is podcast number 49. And I can guarantee you that when I first started this podcast, I would be stuttering, I would be nervous, I wouldn't be on Facebook Live, I wouldn't actually do takes, I would just try and do it in one take, just because I'd be like, no, whatever I say, I'm putting it out there, to be fair. But there's been a process of self-improvement, and that's just come through consistency, guys. And every single podcast, I'm a little bit more confident. Every single podcast, I'm a little bit more honest and open, because we live in a world of judgment. We live in a world where people are so ready to pounce and judge. The more I've been able to achieve in the last few months, the more haters I seem to collect. The more haters I seem to have pouncing on me, and isn't that interesting as well, because they're in the life of showing up. They're in the life of ticking the box. They see someone who's moving away from the life of ticking the box, and they hate. Some people, it inspires them. Some people fucking hate it. And I find it so interesting. I want to live in a world where everyone wants to do well. I want to inspire everyone to do well. But not everyone is going to be like that. But that should not let you stop either, guys. If someone starts saying things that aren't so nice, that's a sign that you're doing well. The haters actually make me realise that I'm doing alright. So keep hating, because it's just a reflection on what you're not achieving. And the more successful you get, the more haters you have. Exactly, Matt. And isn't that interesting as well? So don't let anyone any judgments or anything stop you. So for example, this morning, I think George is actually on the Facebook Live right now listening. I watched his vlog, his first ever vlog, and he said at the beginning, he was like, I've wanted to do this for ages. But I didn't ever do it because I was worried about what people might think. And this morning, I've actually got goosebumps in my legs now as I say this, right? I watched his vlog with Robin. George is someone I've only met recently, by the way, and he's already a really good friend. And me and Robin were laughing the whole way through, 11 minutes of vlog that we really enjoyed. And I'm like, I subscribed. I want him to do more. And I just wish he started soon. I wish he started earlier. And I bet he's thinking the same. He's going to get unbelievable feedback today from people. And they'll be like, that was amazing. And all of a sudden, there'll be some people as well who'll be going, nah, why are you doing that for, George? Why can't everyone just support the poor kid? I would advise going to watch it. In fact, I'm going to share it on my Facebook this afternoon. Go and watch it because it's awesome. It's awesome. And he's also left some good tips in there. And it's actually really funny. So, but yeah, if you're watching this thinking, do you know what? I want to do my own vlog, or I want to do a Facebook Live and talk about something that I've read. Just do it. Do it, because it might just inspire one person to go and do something positive with their day. And there's people now that are liking this Facebook Live, or they're commenting saying good things, and it's just a sign you might inspire one person to go and do something positive today. And that's what it's all about. And there's people watching this Facebook Live now. I've just seen one of my best mates jump on a Facebook Live. He'll be doing screenshots, sending it over to me going, you look terrible. And this is just what it's all about. It's what it's all about. You've got to be prepared to take the banter, be prepared to take whatever you are so fit. Exactly, Josh. And you've got to just pay the price, guys. You've got to pay the price of the sometimes you will lose in time, what you will lose in what you might lose in. Some people will judge you. You just got to pay the price for the promise, because the promise is going to be great. The promise will be more fulfillment, more freedom, more discipline. Discipline equals freedom, guys. So anyway, the story that I've just completely gone on a sidetrack on, this lad is left with just a stone with the 5 values of gold on it. Within the 10 years, he accumulates more wealth because of that, the 5 values of gold, right? He accumulates more wealth, builds more businesses, and he goes home to his dad's, right? And his dad's like, right, I want you to talk in front of the whole family. He invites everyone round. They're all having drinks, etc. And he's like, right, I want you to explain what you've done in the last 10 years, son. And I want to make a decision if you are ready for my fortune, if you are ready to take over my estate. And he says, well, it's funny you say that, because in the first 6 months, all of the gold was gone. And the dad's there laughing. He knew that was going to happen anyway. He said, but he realised that what his dad was giving him wasn't about the gold. It was about the law about the gold. It was about the person that he had to become to take over his dad's fortune. That come from the stone. It come from the 5 laws on the stone. And by the end of that 10 years, he actually had built up businesses that were more successful than his dad's. He had a bigger fortune than his dad's, just from the person that he had to become. that attracted different business, attracted different fortune into his life because of the way he was treating the gold, because of the way he was treating his attitude, his daily lifestyle, his daily habits. It all started to change, and his dad was just like, he actually was surprised. But within 10 years, just from what his dad had taught him, and by the way, this is what his dad had learned over 50 years of business. He gave him these 5 laws of how to handle money, how to build businesses, etc. Just 5 little simple laws. They're in the book of The Richest Man in Babylon. And he went back and he was like, I'm ready for your estate now, and I can just manage it with the rest of my stuff. And I've got people in place to do that. Because that was one of the laws. Put people in place and give them power. And he's like, yeah, I can do that now. And his dad's there just going, oh my God. He's created just from the laws though. Whereas if he had handed over his dad the estate, handed over his son the estate when he was like 21 or whatever, rather than send him on this 10-year journey to figure out what he needed to do, he would have lost it all. Because it wasn't about the estate or the money. It was about the person he had to become. It was about the laws. It was about how he had to manage it. It's just an unbelievable concept, and the book was just blowing my mind this morning. I was just like, I didn't get this 2 years ago. I get it now. And it's just the personal development of how his son had to grow to be a certain person to manage his estate. And it's such a simple concept, but people just aren't willing to really pay the price. People aren't really willing to plant the seeds. It's like a farmer, right? He's planting seeds all day long for the crops to grow, to then be able to run his farm, like build his business, sell his, like, I don't even know how it works, but you plant a seed, it creates these vegetables, you sell them to supermarkets, that's your business, right? If he didn't believe the seeds were going to be planted into vegetables or into whatever he's producing, he wouldn't plant them. It's the same as when you read a book. If you thought the book wasn't going to give you any value, you wouldn't read the book. I don't get up at 5 a.m. to read for half an hour because I want to read the book. I want the results of the person I'm going to become. And I want to learn from the mentors that have written these books from 20, 30, 40 years of experience, of life experience, because that's going to teach me something that I didn't already know. And trust me, I needed to learn. Because there's people who are on this call now who knew me 5 years ago, and I was very different then. But for the last year or so, I've got up at 5 a.m. and I've just read for half an hour. And then in the summer I get up a little bit earlier because the sun comes up a bit earlier, and I'll read just for half an hour. And people will be like, oh, I'm not going to bother to do that. But it's the compound of effect of reading for half an hour for all of this time. It might not even be reading that you're doing. It could be going to the gym. It could be walking around the block. It could be an apple a day. One apple isn't going to make you healthy. But eating an apple a day is what Jim Rohn says could be the difference between you having a healthy life and an unhealthy one. And it's fascinating how people view like this. You pay the price of like one thing that's small to do, that's easy to do and easy not to do. Yet people just continuously don't do it. And that's how people become unhappy. They become unsettled. They become, there you go, hashtag Homebase team. Guys, I used to work at Homebase. And everyone used to think I was lazy. Everyone used to think that I wasn't going anywhere with my life. And I thought that as well. I would go to work at Homebase, right? And I would hide. I would hide in the warehouse until someone found me, and then I would say to them, we're just tidying up. Wasn't tidying up. I was doing anything I possibly could to work. I've changed as a person. And that's just like, anyone can do that. Like, I don't want to take up too much of your time on this podcast this morning. And I do want to try and be more brief. It's something I'm trying to actually learn. Brevity is key. But yeah, like I used to work at, Matt's laughing, it's true. And they'd be like, Jack, can you go on the till? I would strop until they took me off the till because I hated it. Whereas now, if someone senior to me was to tell me to do something, I would just go and do it because they're senior. Like, you have the respect, but that's another reason why I haven't got a boss, because I do detest being told what to do. But if you have mentors in life, like, be coachable, guys, because what they're trying to tell you isn't like isn't for them normally. Sometimes it is. Some leaders do things the wrong way, but 9 times out of 10, if you've got a good leader trying to hand you like tasks or like daily methods of operation, it's normally because it's to benefit you, and it could be for your growth in a company, or it could be for your growth in your fitness levels, whatever it might be. And that is why people use professionals to help them with that. So yeah, thanks for your time, guys and girls. I hope you enjoyed the story. The Richest Man in Babylon is a book that I would definitely recommend, and it's something that I wouldn't give up on either, because when I first read it, I was like, I don't get it. Whereas, and it could be any book as well, by the way, or it could be any gym program, it could be any diet that you go on. You could be like, it's not working. Don't give up. Find another one. Find a better one. Find support. Find accountability. Find access to someone who knows what they're doing. It's the same with anything that you're doing, guys. It's just, don't give up at the first hurdle, because there will be several. There will be so many. And it's when the people who give up at the first hurdle are the people that you never hear about. But the people who achieve anything in their life are the ones who just persevere through failure after failure after failure after failure. So hopefully you found that useful, guys, and hopefully you enjoyed it on the Facebook Live. Give me a thumbs up if you did, and I will be jumping on the podcast probably again early next week. I'm going to try and get some guests on the podcast as well, so you can listen to someone else's voice as well as mine. But yeah, cheers for your time, guys, and I will see you in the next one.